So I'm going to let her bring all this into you. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kimberly Bass. Round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. So, Kimberly, I want to get started right into this because I am really excited about this and I absolutely love it. And everyone who knows me and my podcast knows that I have an affinity for Black women. I love it. I grew up with a single parent. I didn't know the struggles when I until I got older, and it's something that's dear to my heart. And also, my grandparents owned a small business back in our little neighborhood, selling clothes and popsicles and stuff. And I didn't understand it when I was a kid, but now I have a little bit more knowledge on it. So why don't you take just a moment and tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. As you've already mentioned, I'm Kimberly Bass, and I help women small business owners. I help them prepare a business exit strategy as well as put together their estate plan to protect and preserve their legacy. Now, why is that important? It's important because, as you mentioned, your grandparents had a little small corner store. What we're seeing more and more is those corner stores aren't carrying over to the next generation and the generation after that in the Black culture. And that's what I'm here for. I am here to make sure that we're able to, if we want to sell our businesses, let's sell them. If we want to keep them in our families, let's keep them in the family. And I got involved because I just saw in my area just a deterioration of the businesses that used to be there are no longer there. And I wanted to see a comeback.
I absolutely love that. And it is something that, wow, matter of fact, this I posted something earlier today. My wife sent me a picture, and I will bring it up on the screen here in just a second. But there were
Okay.
five gentlemen, and they saved, it said, $50 a week between them for 2 years, and which came out to roughly about 30 something thousand dollars. And then they purchased their first investment property, right? And it just said to me, you don't always have to have the biggest and best of everything. You can start small and progress. And I love that because I'm living at, right? My grandparents had a store that, like you said, and they didn't know, but it's not their fault directly because
Right.
generations didn't teach and they didn't know. So then they ended up losing that. But that could have been two generations of a store that could have been built even more. We had the property, we had the land, and it just kind of went by the wayside. And as you drive through the neighborhoods, you see the wood over the windows
Yes.
where it used to be. So all right, so now I am a small business owner. I'm a lady who's sitting in my vehicle right now, driving, listening to you, and I'm saying, you know what? I never thought about this, right? So, where do I kind of start and where do I go with that to learn a little bit more about that? How do you take people you talk to through those steps?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Black, and so a lot of people that I work with are Black, and people that are dear to my heart are Black business owners. And just in general, Black people are less likely to have one of the main tenets, which is a will. 70% of Black people do not have a will. And if you are a business owner, you're sitting in your car, you're a woman, and you're listening to this, where to get started is to just make a list. Start with an inventory of the things that you have. Start looking at what it is that you have and assigning values to it. And then take it a step further. And who do you want to have these things when you're no longer here? These are the conversations that you need to start having with yourself so that you're able to, if you're a business owner, you need to start having them with your CPAs, your attorneys, so you're able to get the right things in place. So if you're no longer here, something happens, you're in a coma, you can't speak, then your ideas, your decisions can be carried on without you. So to begin, you just start taking an inventory, start jotting down those assets, their value, and who you want those things to be transferred to.
And I think that is one of the most important things. But here's something that I think, and I could be totally off, I could be totally wrong. I think one of the reasons why people don't do that is because we're so afraid of death. We're afraid to talk about it. We're afraid. it's coming. It's inevitable, right? And so we sit back and we don't have those wills, and we because we I don't know if I should do something, or some people think my family is going to feel bad if I left one person this, and well, they're going to fight over it if you haven't, delegated where you want something to go. And I absolutely like that. And when I was looking at your website or one of the places there, and there was something that you said on there, it's like, get your money right before the walk, or something to that effect, right?
Yes.
You've got to be ready to talk about it. And when you have someone come to you, do you think that's something that they don't want to touch on, or you feel most people are ready to kind of have that the talk?
Ready? Absolutely not. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, for example, Aretha Franklin had a fortune. She had millions of dollars involved in her estate, and she never wanted to plan because she just kind of felt like once she started doing that, she would jinx herself and something negative would happen. But listen, we all know how this ends. We all know how it wraps up. But I often tell my clients, look, it is more costly not to plan than to plan because the government rewards those who do plan and they punish those who don't. And how does that look? It looks higher taxes that will be paid in death. It looks like loss of control. You don't get to decide what happens with your children. You don't get to decide what happens with your real estate, what happens with your business. It's decided for you. And you lose control of your assets. You don't get to decide who gets what. And in some instances, if you don't have relatives or if people can't be found, the state will take over your assets.
And this is why I love having these conversations and these talks, because one, they aren't spoken about so easily within schools. We're not taught these things, but they're so important. And even to the point of, we speak about, especially, and every, I make no bones about it. Everyone knows my podcast is geared towards Black individuals and professionals. I love talking, and I talk to everyone. I just had a couple people on of a different culture and I don't care who brings the information, long as it can be productive for my people. That's who I'm speaking to, right? So we aren't taught those things, and it needs to be spoken on. And I absolutely love it because we want everyone. I want a business. I don't want to work 9 to 5. I don't want, but are you willing to do those things that's needed to get it and then keep it and then pass it along? We talk about generational wealth, and uh, there's something else I saw in there where you said, "Black don't crack." I love it. Protecting Black businesses with continuity planning, right? So, what does that entail when we start speaking about continuity planning, or keeping the planning one level? What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you asked that question. With the pandemic, we saw a lot of the vulnerabilities with businesses being able to make that quick shift to go virtual and to institute the internet, basically what's available. So continuity is just being able to keep your business running when disaster strikes. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a pandemic. Unfortunately, in the US, we are experiencing a large amount of mass shootings. Does your business have a plan for that? Does your business have a plan for what occurs if something of this magnitude happens within your building, within your shopping center? Are you able to take the hit, keep running as if nothing ever happened? That's pretty much what continuity planning is. It's that bump in the road, being able to go over it and accelerate that speed and have little to no impact.
Yeah, and that's something you and I spoke about prior when we talked about some recent incidents that happened in Virginia. I think, yes, it was Virginia, with the athletes, right?
That's
Parents.
correct.
It's the same thing about your business that's going into maybe your children's life, right? If they turn 18, they're in college. And maybe, especially nowadays, they have those NIL deals, and college students are getting paid. Well, what happens if something tragic happens? Then their money goes to the state. And can you kind of maybe talk a little bit on that, about parents who may be in a situation like that, or thinking about their kids just now getting to learn about money?
Absolutely. And my heart does go out to the University of Virginia students and families that were impacted by the tragic loss of life. And in those situations, parents definitely need to have conversations with their children and also help their children set up some basic documents themselves. For example, a living will. A living will determines what you want to happen if you go to the hospital, for example. Do you want to be on a feeding tube? Do you not want to receive morphine? Just different types of things. Also, you want to have the power of attorney because, as you mentioned, some of these players are making bank. They are making a lot of money. And what if the family needs to access some of that money for whatever reason? They need to have a power of attorney in place. So there's just the once you start having the conversations with your children and putting just small documents in place. For example, we all know about HIPAA. You can make it really difficult for you to get information on your child if these HIPAA forms aren't together to make medical decisions. And you definitely want to be able to slide in, figure out what's going on with your kid, contribute to the medical decisions, and make sure that things are in line with how you want them to go, how your child discussed that they want them to go as well.
Yeah, and it's so important for everyone who's listening. And you know, these kind of go hand in hand in my mind with the business and then your kids' life because you want to pass your business down to them. So these are conversations that may be tough, that may be hard. You know, my wife and I, we have them all the time. Like I repeatedly remind her, and I know she loves me, so she's like, "No, I'm not doing it." But I tell her I want a DNR. I put it in my will. After a certain amount of time, if there's whatever, I'm ready to rest, right? And I'm working to make sure I leave everything towards my son and everything, and just like little small things that we do for him. That we buy him plots of land for his birthday, versus all these major gifts. I see some people purchase thousands and thousands of dollars on um, for gifts for birthdays. And I'm like, don't let the holidays make you broke. you know, if you could do it, that's fine. But now let's jump back into a little bit of the business thing, and then we'll hop into your platform, which you're planning on doing here in about a week or so, I think. So
Correct.
one more question in reference to the business. So now I'm a small business owner. I'm a lady, and I'm listening to you, and I'm saying, you know what? I'm really interested in what she's saying. How can I reach out to Kimberly? How can I find out a little bit more from yourself directly before we get into the program that you're running here in the Legacy in a couple of days?
Absolutely. Great question. You can always reach me through my website. That is the central place. My website is I am Kimberly Bass. There, I have a contact form. We can set up a 15-minute complimentary session. You can learn more about the event that I'm hosting next week and also about a program that I'm kicking off in January. So go to my website and all of the fields are there. There's a contact me, contact Kimberly, work with Kimberly, either of those, and you'll definitely get me.
I love it. So 2023, we have I know in like in Chinese mythology they have the year of the dragon, the year that's their symbols and stuff. Well, 2023 is the year of the woman, right? The year of the woman. We're going to
I'm
break it
for
down.
it.
We're pronouncing it right now. Uh, we recently went to go see The Woman King, right, with Viola
Mm,
Davis, and I love it. Powerful. I even did a small review on Black Panther 2, right? How powerful the women are, right, in these movies and in life. Our Black women are more than just our queens, right? The highest rising in voting. They can, man, so much power is there. And if the American dream is on your business, on your home, and all of those other things, we've got to protect them. It's not just enough to go and get them. You got to protect them. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I agree. And it's funny that you mentioned those movies because in The Woman King, what we saw was a protection and a preservation of legacy.
Yeah.
The main character, her daughter, became a warrior. So that
Mm,
legacy was passed down. And what do you think that well, the daughter may not have a daughter, but as you can see, it's a family of warriors. When
yeah.
you look at Black Panther, same thing. The legacy that was left by Chadwick Boseman. He wasn't a part of the film, but we could feel him in the film.
Oh
We
yeah.
saw his presence in the film. However, the women, they carried a legacy of strength in every single area you saw. You saw the warriors. There was a legacy of warrior, and we saw the queen when she had to pass it down to her daughter. That
Man.
legacy was just power, and we saw those themes over and over and over again. And it's no different for us women going into 2023, which will be the year of the woman. We need to start thinking, what strength and what power do we want to pass to our children, be it through our business, be it through the character that we illustrate to them.
Mm,
And I'm glad to hear that you are buying the land for your son, because what does
yeah.
that mean for your son? Your son's going to buy land for his children.
Yeah. Yeah, I told him every time I tell him, I say, "Listen, you can." He's like, "Dad, I can do this with that." No, you're just gonna let it sit. You ain't gonna do nothing with it. At some point, you could build a house or something, right? But we're telling them someday someone's gonna come and knocking, and they're gonna say, "Do you own this? We want to build a little shopping mall or something here. We want to purchase it from you, right?" And I absolutely love that. And without giving something away in the movie, there was a part because we've proclaimed it here, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all heard it now, the year of the woman, 2023, right? But there was a part in the movie where uh, she went after the young lady, and I don't want, I'm trying to say it without giving it away. And it wasn't even her daughter. It was just a motherly instinct that she saw
Right.
this young lady in trouble. I'm a queen. That's not even my kid. Not a second thought. And that's what I believe one, women and men, we all have to start doing is building each other up, right? That village, like these gentlemen. Oh, matter of fact, let me find that picture while I'm saying this. While these gentlemen were saving their money to purchase an investment property together, right? And they wanted to make sure that whatever it is that they're working to build was going to stand, was going to stay there in the test of times. So let's hop into a little bit of what you have coming up here. I want you to talk to our listeners and tell them why they need to come to this. What is this about? How did you come about it? And what are you trying to get from it?
Absolutely. What I'm hosting next week is the Business Legacy Jumpstart. Now, why is it called that? The reason it's called the Jumpstart is because we're going to be looking at estate planning. I feel that estate planning, if you are a business owner, that is a jump start to your legacy. And you are saying to not just to yourself, but to your family, taking the movie Black Panther, I'm going to show you who I am. In the Black Panther movie, it was show them who you are.
Yeah.
And in this instance, this is an opportunity for women business owners to have their children's children know who they are. In this event, we're laying that foundation. Over the course of 3 days, we're going to talk about estate planning, what it is, and why you need a plan. A lot of us out there, we feel we don't have enough, we feel that we don't know enough. This event is going to cancel all of that.
Mm,
We're also going to talk about what it looks like to streamline your business so it can run without you. And without you could be death, without you could be retirement. But we're going to talk about what you can put in place to make your business continue to run for generation after generation. And then lastly, we are going to talk about building what your family's already doing, multi generational wealth. We talk about generational wealth, but I'm talking about your children's children.
yeah.
That is multi generational wealth. We're going to talk about what you can do to start kicking that off, to jumpstart that wealth for your family.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, I've been for the listeners who haven't been able to see this. I've been scrolling through the business page here that we're looking at, and there's big red words, completely free. Do it.
That's
You have
right.
no excuse. You have no
No
excuse.
excuse.
I
No
don't care
excuse.
what you're doing. You need to take a moment. You've struggled. You've worked hard. Let me pull this back up for us. You worked hard to get your business. Now you need to make sure you work just as smart to keep it, to progress it, right? We don't know what we don't know. I Before I started my business and started getting into it and learning, I didn't know that I could claim a small portion of my home as my home studio for my taxes. I didn't know I could rent out a portion of my home for my taxes. We see all these people and getting this tax breaks and all this, the rich people. And then we go, how are they doing it? That's not fair. No, it's in the rules.
Yeah, yeah,
It's fair.
yeah.
Do it
That's
legally.
that's the problem. We don't like to read.
Yes, do it legally. So, what final words would you like to tell the listeners? Anything I missed? Anything you want to just last thing you want to say? To just remind them this is why they need to be here with you, December 5th through the 7th, 7 p.m. I think it is
7 p.m.
Eastern.
Eastern, that is
7
correct.
p.m. Eastern. So make sure you check your time zones, ladies and gentlemen. Sign up and save your spot because they're going to be going fast. Make sure you get in there and get a front row seat. Don't sit in the back. We're tired of sitting in the back, right? Rosa Parks hustled hard so you can sit up front. Choose to sit up front. So, what final words do you want to leave the listeners with?
I'm going to piggyback off of you with the hustle hard. Women, for decades, we have hustled hard. We are the most hardworking. We have put in the time. We're raising the children. We're making the money. So let's go ahead and pass all of that on. Let's build strong young men, strong women. Let's eliminate some of the worries and build them up and put them in a position by building the table for our young ones to be able to have opportunities. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Business Legacy Jumpstart December 5th, 6th, and 7th. You can register at IamKimberlyBass.com and I'll be glad to see you there.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard her. Build the table. I love it, right? You can build that table whatever size you want, whatever shape, whatever length. Have as many family members, and then when you have more family, you can build it longer again, right? Learn to build your own table. So, thank you for that. Hang with me for 1 second. Let me pay a little bills, and then I'm gonna be right back with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming into another episode of J1Q, Just One Question. That question is whatever you want it to be, right? How am I going to work to make sure my legacy lasts? Make sure I'm passing it down. What steps am I going to take? Well, here's a first step. You got to be willing to do it. You got to stop saying, I'm going to, and just do it. All right. So, thank you guys for taking a listen and make sure you keep living while you are alive.
Thank you for listening to Just One Question. I know you enjoyed the show because you made it this far. If you want to hear more, subscribe, share, and don't forget to give us a 5-star review. Now, what's your one question?